About a year ago, I did a video on basically how OPC UA variables can be shown from an OPC UA server, basically inside DeltaV. And the demo that I did was basically from an inbuilt OPC UA server on a Siemens PLC. And essentially, this is effectively it here, where there's a number of variables, and essentially they're available there, right? And what I have here then is just as a reminder, I have the I have a singular value being shown from the PLC, and what I have open here then is the OPC UA client inside DeltaV. Right now, the reason for this video is primarily because I got a whole host of emails sent to me where people could actually get to this step here, so they could go off and they could essentially they could go and they could basically see the data, and the data's here, and basically you'll see these values, and then essentially then the idea is that they would actually match the online values inside the PLC, and they were there right at that step. But essentially the problem was that they had difficulty displaying the actual the data itself, right? So that was kind of like the problem, right? So what I want to do is I want to focus in on exactly how how I did it from a display point of view. So here I have a unit, and the unit is a particular tank, and then what I have is the individual control modules, say for example, that are associated with this particular unit. And what I did then was I put in this extra control module, and I just gave it a name here, Wi-Fi Gen OPC, right? So if I go off into the control studio, what I did was I went off and I basically just created an input parameter over here. If I go in and if I just select properties, basically what I did was I selected external reference, and then what I did was I navigated off right to the actual the OPC UA tags themselves, right? So I essentially went off and then I navigated to that, and it's like me pointing almost like external IO to, and then I'm creating a variable here, right? So that's essentially it here. And then I have this guy T, I just gave him a name, TI 030, just the same effectively as is in the live PLC version. And I'll just close him down. And then in DeltaV Operate configure, so I'll just close this guy here. So in DeltaV Operate configure, we'll just wait for that to open. What again I'm doing is I'm pointing to this variable which was inside the actual inside the control module. So I'll head off then, and we'll open up this particular screen here, the version of what we just saw. So my guess is what people were doing was that they were heading off and they were trying to go directly out to the actual the variable itself. So they were selecting here DST parameters, then they were going off and they were selecting here, right? And what they needed to do was they needed to go into their data link, and essentially what they needed to do was do as basically I had done there, where they went off to, say for example, here's the control module, the tank 4, then they go off to the control module itself here, and then you'll see that variable that comes up, TI30. So the core thing was I created, in order to get it working, I created a control module, just purely for holding variables, which pointed out to the OPC variables themselves. I don't understand exactly the reason why 100%, but if you try to directly from if you try to display variables, the direct OPC UA variables here, they won't actually display properly. So that's effectively, I'd say, where people were going wrong. So hopefully this kind of clears up any kind of confusion, on that. Thank you very much.